everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be a first look at the brand new Pat McGrath Mothership eyeshadow palette. This one is Galactic Gold. I got this little baby in the mail today and I thought I would share a look with this one as well as swatches and my first impressions using the palette. So before we get into that, if you're new here, I'm Yori. Thank you for clicking on my video. I hope you're gonna like it and maybe subscribe to my channel, ring the bell so that you don't miss a future upload. Now let's go ahead and get into the video. So this is an interesting collaboration that Pat McGrath Labs did with Star Wars, a Disney property, and as I understand it, she's a very big fan of Star Wars and that's why she wanted to do this collaboration. I did pick up both palettes. The other one is called Dark Galaxy. Now the reason why I opted to show this one first is because I thought maybe people would be leaning more towards this one, and let me give you a quick peek of that one. There's what that one looks like. And the color story there is a little bit more rosy in tone. For today, I wanted to focus on Galactic Gold. This one is an all metallic color story, and I wanted to showcase how you can create a look with all metallic eyeshadows. Now, this particular palette has a 12-month shelf life. It is made in the United States. You have 6 shades and they are all in metallic finishes. You have the ingredients of the palette on the backside, which is what I was looking at, and each individual shade does have its own formula. So as I showed you before, here is the color story. I do want to show you swatches of the palette. Some of them are more metallic, some of them are a little bit more like sheer top coats kind of shades, or those that make your eyelids look very, very wet. So as you can see, these are single swipe finger swatches on unprimed skin. These smaller size palette, which these are the 7th and 8th that she has released, they do come with 12 grams of product. They retail now for $65 and that price has gone up. I believe they originally started being priced at $55, but they are now at $65 each. I purchased mine from the Pat McGrath website as a bundle, and the price for the bundle was $115, and then I was able to use a discount code for 10% off. One thing I wanted to mention about the packaging is that this one doesn't have that kind of trifold format. It just lifts up like this and you have a very large, nice size mirror on the inside of the palette, which is different than the other palettes of this size that she has released. I grabbed this one, which is the Mothership Subliminal palette, and as you can see, when you open this one, it opens up in this way. So essentially she's eliminated this smaller flap, which I kind of like because when you're working with the palette, not only does that make the palette heavier, it also has a tendency to close and then it becomes a little harder to use the palette. And so I actually like that she eliminated that. Not to mention it allows the palette to store a little bit better since this one does lie flat. This one does have kind of an asymmetric top which prevents it from lying down flat. So I actually like it, even though it seems a little less luxe, a little less attention to detail, but I actually do like the more flat, compact packaging. As usual, the shade names are not inside the palette. They are on this insert, which does lay very nicely over the mirror, but if you want to use the mirror, then you kind of just have to set that to the side, and it does have the shade names of the palette there. Let's go ahead and get into how I created this eye look so you can see how the shades perform. I'll let you know all the brushes that I'm using and I'll chit chat with you about my first impressions on the palette. We're going to start the look with the Real Techniques 306 brush and the shade Electron, and I'm going to apply that to my inner corner and go just about halfway across the lid. I'm using packing motions with this one. And I'm also running it kind of across what would be my crease. I decided to review this eyeshadow palette first because it's all metallic shades, and I thought since the other one has a matte shade, a lot more people would be likely to gravitate to that one since it's a little bit easier to create an eye look when you have matte shadows. But I'm not opposed to an all shimmer look, and so I thought, let me go ahead and do this one. Real Techniques 305 and the shade Violet Orchid. I'm going to pat this shade across the outer part of my lid, and it's funny where these two shades overlap, it creates kind of a bluish tone. So it looks like I have a blue eyeshadow there in the middle, but really it's just the overlap of these two shades. Back to Electron, I'm gonna go ahead and blend those shades together, and that's when you see that bluish tone kind of pop up. So layering these two gives you a really nice, kind of interesting effect. So that's going to be the focal point of the look. Next, I'm taking a Shakuda number 823 brush and the shade Corruption. This is the one I'm going to use to deepen out the outer V, and it's kind of a reddish tone metallic shade. And I find that when you apply metallic shades, especially like these, they're kind of blackened, and you can actually smoke them out to make them kind of blend themselves out. So I'm using that on the outer corner of my eye, and I'm kind of using stamping motions with this brush, creating the shape that I want, and then later I'm going to smoke that out. So that's about the shape that I want. I'm going to take my inner corner shade next. On an Esom T09 brush, I'm going to take Galactic Gold, and I'm going to apply that to my inner corner. This is also the shade I'll be using to my brow arch. It's funny that I bought these palettes. I know a lot of Star Wars fans will be interested in picking up these palettes. I'm actually not a fan of Star Wars. I'm not a fan. I've just never really watched the movies. I know most of the premise of the movies, but honestly my knowledge of Star Wars comes from watching Spaceballs, if you remember that kind of spoof comedy. It was so funny, and that's how I learned about Star Wars, because I never watched all the movies. I could be like the one person that watches the entire Star Wars, I guess, collection from beginning to end in chronological order, because I know it was released kind of in all kinds of orders. This shade is also going to be my brow bone highlight. I'm just going to apply it really lightly up there, nothing too crazy. You know, you can definitely build it up like you see on my inner corner and on the lower lash line, but I'm just applying it lightly. Now I'm going to use the same brush in the shade Corruption, and I'm just going to run that along the lower lash line. As usual, when I demo eyeshadow palettes, I'm not dampening them in any way, just because I want you to get the full effect of what the shades can do on their own. This is really it in terms of color application. I'm going to use a Shakuda number 822 brush. It's a really interesting kind of brush. I shared that in my most recent haul, and I'm in love with these brushes. They're so beautiful. I'm just gonna use this to blow out the shadows. You could definitely leave it like this if you wanted more of an intense look, but I do wanna diffuse the corners. And so like I mentioned, when you blend out these metallic shades, they kind of have a blackened nature to them, and you can blow them out to smoke out your look. I didn't actually apply any color to this brush. I'm just running it along the edges of the eyeshadow I already put down. So hopefully you can see that it's both softening the edges as well as blowing out the color in a more flattering way, in my opinion, at least a more wearable way. See how you get that blackened outer corner as if you've applied a matte shadow, but obviously I didn't. I'm just blurring the edges. Once that's complete, I do intensify Corruption just in the outer V to make sure you can still see that color, and I run Electron just kind of along the top here, so the pretty purpley shade isn't lost. So that's basically it for the color application. I'm going to finish off the look with wing liner. You can definitely leave it like this if you like. I think it looks pretty like this, a little bit softer with just mascara, so you can still see the detail. But I am going to apply my Melt Immortal Gel Liner. I'm going to use the Melt brush, which I prefer a brush with longer bristles, but this one will do right now. I did apply some mascara, Tartist, and some false lashes. I just used the outer corner lashes to sort of fan out, and I did apply just a small amount of black liner to my upper lash line and just the outer part of my lower lash line to enhance that smoky eye look. So I'm gonna finish up all these steps, and I will be right back to show you the final look. And here's your finished look with all of the finishing touches applied. If you're interested in my lip combo, I'm wearing the Smashbox Always On Liquid Lipstick. This one is in the shade Fair Game, and I did have to tweak it a little bit with a lip liner. This is Trusty Mac Spice, and that's what I have on my lips today. The formula, it's funny, this is one of my favorite liquid lipsticks formula. I think it's really comfortable and long wearing, but the lighter shades, those ones that have white pigment, they're a little bit more drying, and so I did have to apply it a little bit on top of a balm. which makes it a little less transfer proof, but definitely a lot more comfortable. In any case, this is your finished look using the Pat McGrath and Star Wars collaboration Mothership palette. This one is the Mothership Galactic Gold eyeshadow palette. It's a 100% metallic color story, but I think that I was still able to achieve a very nice and well blended look out of it using the technique that I shared. So I'm going to zoom out and share my final thoughts on the palette. I hope you enjoyed seeing how I created my eye look. I actually really like how the eye look turned out. I don't do all metallic looks very often, but when I'm reviewing a palette, I do like to stick to the one palette for the color story, and so I just wanted to showcase how you can create an all metallic look and still have it look very blended. Now, in terms of how the shadows performed, they performed beautifully. In general, I used every single shade in the palette except for this copper tone and this gold one. This one is called bronze and this one is called gold standard. They're just the most boring, in my opinion, of the entire color story, and so naturally I'm drawn to the brighter colors. Those two are also going to be the most easily duped out within her existing line. The other colors are a little bit more unique. I did like how this specific shade here, which is Violet Void, it has a blue shift, and on screen it's actually showing blue. Let me see if I can do what the Beauty News girls do. They kind of show one in the mirror so you can see the shift. I don't know, I'm not an expert at showing it, but it looks purple to me in person, but on screen it's looking blue, and when overlapped with the electron shade, it does create that blue look that you see on my lid, and I thought that was a really pretty effect. So layering those two shades gives you a nice effect. Galactic Gold shade is more of a lighter kind of topper shade, so you can definitely lay that over the other ones to get more of a special pop of color or pop of brightness to the lid, but it works really well as an inner corner and brow bone highlight, which is how I used it today. As I'm sure you noticed during the demo, I had my face makeup completely done already, and I didn't really experience any fallout at all with any of the shades. I did explain how I was using the eyeshadows, and I do like the way that the look turned out. It was really fun to create. It's a really nice, pretty, colorful look, but it's not too over the top either. So that's your first look from me at the Pat McGrath Galactic Gold eyeshadow palette. I'm going to wear this one tomorrow. I'll probably create more of a pink look with this one, since the color story is a little bit more red and pink. This one is called the Dark Galaxy, so I'll try this one on tomorrow and share my thoughts as well. If you're interested, let me know in the comment section down below if that's something you would like to see. I don't get the opportunity to showcase new releases right away since this is not my full-time job, and so hopefully you don't mind that I just shared a first impressions on this one, but so far my first impression is good. Do I think you absolutely need it? No, of course not. You don't absolutely need it. There's some palettes that I have a tendency to say, you might need that one, but this isn't really one of them. It's very nice. It's a lovely color story, very good quality, typical Pat McGrath, and if you're a Star Wars fan, you'll probably really like that, but as I shared and confessed, I don't really know much about Star Wars. That's everything that I had for you today. If you enjoyed my video, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you're having a lovely and wonderful holiday season, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon on my next one. Bye-bye.